This is the FEHERTY podcast presented by Farmers Insurance.
Hey, thanks for coming. Hello, everybody, and I'd like to thank you all, and I'd like to thank your parole officers for extending your curfew just this one time. Tonight's guest is Fred Couples. Now, I know, Fred was my guest the last time too, but this isn't a repeat. It's an entirely different show. Okay, it's not entirely different. I mean, Fred and I were discussing golf in Cabo San Lucas on that one, and Fred and I are discussing golf in Cabo San Lucas on this one. But the things we're discussing are entirely different, I promise. For example, we're going to talk about his heartbreaks and triumphs at the Ryder Cup, his experience sweating with the oldies on the PGA Tour champions, his emotional selection to the World Golf Hall of Fame, and, you know, you get the idea. There's a lot to come. First, though, I thought I'd catch you up on what you may have missed. In case you were too busy corralling your cattle to watch, here are some highlights from Fred Couples Part 1. You've managed to weasel out of this interview about 4 times. After years of dodging my interview requests, Freddie finally agreed to do my show in picturesque Cabo San Lucas.
As you can see, the grass is cut right up to the edge of the desert.
We talked about his rash decision to turn pro.
Maybe the greatest thing I ever did, or maybe the worst thing I ever did. And I called home Sunday night, and my dad hung up.
And he recounted the miracle shot that won him a green jacket.
All I kept thinking about was, if I fluff this chip, it's going to hit the hill and roll right back into the water.
We got totally zen and discussed his stress-free approach to life.
I don't do a lot, and I do that very, very well.
And he even recalled the time he was accidentally baked while playing at the World Cup.
And I looked at him and I went, wow, like I was high.
So there you have it. Now on to Part 2 with Fred Couples.
Jeez.
You were 8 years into your career before you made your first Ryder Cup. Was that a goal?
I would probably be honest and say no.
Yeah?
You know, not like it is now. I didn't really know what the Ryder Cup was all about. Mm-hmm. So I made my first team at the Belfry.
Yeah, you knew what it was all about after that one.
I darn sure did.
Yeah.
And we had an unreal team, which we always do, and so did they. I think it was a huge honor, more than me figuring out, you know, just what I did. I mean, the Ryder Cup was the Ryder Cup. We very rarely lost, and then we lost, and now I'm on this team, and it was something else. I'll tell you what.
You played in 5 of them from 89 through 97, and they were some of the most nail-biting, intense, amazing events. Where do they rank in importance, your career?
Well, the Belfry, probably, I looked at golf a lot differently. Our captain was Ray Floyd, and...
that must have meant a great deal to you.
Yeah. My first pairing in the Ryder Cup was with Lanny Watkins, of all people. Lanny and I talk about it, not as much as we used to, but it was such an odd pairing. What's Lanny do? He hits every shot right down the middle of the fairway. What do? I have a tendency to drive it offline. Lanny makes a putt, he goes crazy. I make a putt, I kind of grab it out of the hole and feel good about it.
You're slightly less likely to fall asleep.
Right, so we didn't do well, and it has nothing to do with the pairing. It was all me, and I didn't play well. Then I played the singles, and I played Christy O'Connor, who became great friends after that. We had an unbelievable match. And I'll never forget the last 3 or 4 holes. A lot of the team was following us, especially on 16, 17, and 18. And to this day, the 17th hole I 3-putted, it's a par 5, to have the hole. And I just couldn't really function. All I did was line my putt. I just saw this wave of USA players, and I thought, wow, I make this little 6-footer in front of all these guys, and my mind wasn't working. Plus, I was a complete nervous wreck. And then we went to 18, and for people watching don't know, I hit a drive over the water, and I had 145 yards. Christy O'Connor, who wasn't long, played it safe. He probably had 220.
Yeah, the 200.
So I'm standing there leaning on my bag with Joe, and I'm paying attention to Christy. And the next thing I know, I'm watching the shot. And I'm looking at it, it's going right at the flag. It hits on the green, it rolls up. And then I immediately lost everything in my mind. And I can remember like it was yesterday. And I blocked this 9-iron right at the green, missed the green, chipped it down, outside him, missed it, and then gave him the putt. And that night, I was crying like I usually can. And so Ray Floyd actually spent way too much time in my room telling me all about, you're going to be a better player from this. You're going to learn from this. Do not worry about this. We lost as a team. And I just was hugging him and squeezing him and, what a way to lose and all this. And so I didn't even know what I did in my other couple matches. I don't know. I lost with Lanny. I may have lost every match I played. I have no clue. I've never looked back at it. And I can tell you from that point on, I started hanging around a little bit with Ray Floyd, a little bit with Tom Watson, and it was the best thing I ever did.
The highlight of my career was in 1991 when I played in the Ryder Cup at Kiowa Island. I came determined to win, but Fred was after something bigger. He was looking for redemption.
Well, in '89, you felt responsible.
I did.
In '91, you won 3.5 points, and you were responsible. We needed.
Well, I had Ray, and I did. And I had Ray Floyd. I got a couple wins with him. We were a good pairing. A couple times he told me how to do it, what to do, and I enjoyed that. He was so pumped up, so evil in Ray Floyd's way, but then I was like a little puppy dog. So I did get 2 points with him, and then obviously won my singles match.
Did he take care of all the mental warfare and just create a space in which you could play?
Yeah, because after all the mixture, I want to get this right, I think in the morning round with Chip Beck and Paul Azinger with Seve and the mixed ball, and I believe we were dead wrong. I think we interchanged balls, but then they felt a little bit like they waited a long time, and so then the next afternoon, Raymond and I played Jose and Seve. And there was a little bit of noise made on the first tee. There really was.
I believe you.
And then we got to the second hole, and Steve Williams was caddying for Raymond. And Steve told me to stay back. So Raymond and Seve walked probably 30 yards ahead of me. I don't know where Jose was. And then when he came back, he said, we're all good. That'll never happen again. And I said, I'm like, what'd you say? What'd you say? And he said, I said to him, Seve, you can keep doing what you're doing, but I'm way better at this than you'll ever be, so my suggestion would be to stop. That's what he told me, yes. So I got a rush out of that.
Yeah, I bet.
And I think at the end of the day, they ended up beating us, though, in a heck of a match.
Yeah, I think they went undefeated.
They probably
in
did.
That particular one. But I'll tell you, I never wanted to play Ray. He was just so tough.
Yeah. I never played money games against him. I just went and spent time with him, and he always told me, he said one thing to me. We played in a few of the shark shootouts and stuff, so he hit a drive down there, and I'd go for this par 5. The pin would be back right with deep bunkers and a creek to the right, and I'd carve it in there and over-carve it. And he said, son, what are you trying to do there? And I said, well, I'm trying to make an eagle. And he goes, how many eagles did you make last year? And I said, I don't know, 10? How many par 5s did you go for in 2? I said, I don't know, 60? And he goes, those aren't good odds. He said, aim it for the middle of the green, and if you hit your normal shot, you got a 40-footer for eagle, which is not really an eagle putt. If it cuts a little bit, you're 30 feet. And if you get lucky and overcut it, you're going to have a real eagle putt. But none of this, stop going for these pins like you're going to hit it in there 10 feet, make eagle. And then if Joe LaCava was sitting here, I played par 5s in my prime, those 3 or 4 years, better than anybody. I mean, yeah. I was 3 under before I started the round because I knew I was going to birdie 3 or 4 of them. And just something like that stuck. It wasn't so much, I need you to be mentally more strong. I need you to do this like me. He just said, I watched how you play. And that's what I try and do now with these kids. I try and say, hey, your game is so good. Maybe you work on from 150 and in. Maybe you become better with your 9 and wedge because that's all you're hitting.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your 7-iron swing and your 5-irons. Just let's save a shot around if you can. That's 4 shots. That's a lot of golf.
Oh, yeah. Now, in 95, Lanny was the captain, and he chose you as one of his picks. Did that put extra pressure on you?
I don't think so. I think Lanny and I played a little bit, and I was playing pretty well. Maybe we had 2 picks then, and maybe Curtis was the other choice. And we both kind of did okay, and we both had chances to win the thing. Every captain I've ever had has done a good job, and I felt like being picked, I deserved it.
In 97, in your singles match, you played Ian Woosnam, beat him 8-7, which was the largest margin of victory in the history of the Ryder Cup. That must have been like molesting a Smurf.
Well, in this match, obviously the old thing is with the team, something had to give. And I enjoyed playing Woozy. And so you can't match up pairings, but somehow we got matched up. And so we went through that match, and I felt really easy. I loved the golf course in Spain. It was good for a long hitter. It was good for putting, and I just went off and started birding and never gave him a shot to get into it. And then, you know, kind of got a big point early, and we got it close, and then Europe did what they do best. They closed us out, you know, the last 5, 6, 7 holes, and the later parts of the players played very, very well for Europe, and they ended up winning again.
What would being a Ryder Cup captain mean to you?
As we sit here today, it would still be a tremendous honor, but I kind of got over it because I think my time, I'm only 59, but 4 years ago after my run as President's Cup, I may have said a couple things to the PGA of America that we had a little talk about it. I actually, with Jay Haas, we wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like a couple things that happened, and maybe they looked at that and said, you know, maybe he's not our guy. And one of them is Europe does the same thing. You go to the same dinners we go to. I just felt like it was too much. I felt like if there was one thing I could do, I could calm this down a little bit, which would help our players' mentality.
Yeah. No, you're quite right. It turns into a dog and pony show.
Right. And so that's what I kind of said, but I didn't probably use dog and pony show. And so I never got a call back.
Did it begin with cluster?
Yeah, kind of. You know, it kind of was, it just was too much. And I was an assistant captain with Davis at Chicago. And one of the things that really bothered me was our team on Thursday was only going to play 9 holes. Europe would tee off after us. The Americans would go first. And another day we would go second. And
this is in the practice run?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we told the PGA of America, and they knew. And we asked them, tell the fans, put it in the paper, that we're only going to come out and play 9 holes. They didn't. We went and played with Steve Stricker, Tiger Woods, Joe LaCava, and Steve's caddy, and they're booing these guys. They just driven from their home. They got to the parking lot. They took a bus. They went in, and now they get there, and the American team's done. It just left a really, really bad taste in my mouth to witness this. I mean, you're literally booing the team that you come to watch. I thought that was bad taste from the PGA of America. I'm not trying to slap anyone. I'm just saying it's all about the players. The whole thing is about the players. They're winning the points. They're winning the cup. No captain is going to win the Ryder Cup. It's the 12 guys that are going to win it. I'm convinced on that. And I would love to still have a shot at doing it, yeah.
Did we hear that? PGA of America? I think he's making sense here. That's all I can say. Did you emulate anybody growing up?
Growing up, I loved Tom Weiskopf, and then I loved Johnny Miller.
Yeah.
And we all wanted to be Arnold Palmer, who's my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
So easy to be with your buddies. I'm Jack Nicklaus and I'm Arnold Palmer. So
I was Lee Trevino.
There you go. Well, I spent some quality time with him too. But Johnny Miller, there was something about the way he hit the ball, and Tom Weiskopf, I just always liked.
Yeah, statuesque.
But they weren't Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer, but they were right there.
It's been almost 4 decades, and you might think that Freddie's had it all. And considering how laid back he is about everything, you might think it's been easy. But the truth is, Fred suffered setbacks on the course and had to work hard to win.
I'm really nervous on the first tee because I go back to that tee time. It's very important when I get an 8:15 time that at 8:20 that I am playing that first hole very well. There was a time where every round I played, I was even or under par after 5 holes. Then you get the second set of nerves. I'm 1 ahead of these guys, or I'm 1 behind with 7 holes to play. Now I got to go. And sometimes, you know, I tell people all the time, your hands become a little different. Your swing probably is the same. So the closer I got to the finish line, the few times that I really played poorly, I just didn't handle it very well. And there were other times where I got beat. My goal was to win another major. And if you were to, I'm going this backwards, but if you'd ask me what really bothers me is I can tell you every shot I had, and I had 3 or 4 unreal ones to win another major, and I didn't. Wayne Grady at Shoal Creek, I couldn't even function the last 8 holes. I was ahead of him, falling down to him, and then he passed me. And he played very, very well and solid.